Welcome back to another edition of Grossbusters Reviews. Last night, me and my cousin Logan went to a late night showing and we went to go see the new movie Power Rangers. This week I want to start off a little bit differently because I think discussing the Parental Advisory review first is actually a good lead into my personal review of the movie. But first, let me give you a raw movie review reaction and a preview of what's to come later in the review. So Logan, what did you think of the movie? Riveting. And now, Power Rangers is rated PG-13 for sequences of sci-fi violence, action and destruction, language, and for some crude humor. And I'd say that's easily a good rating for this movie. As I always say, it's up to you individually as parents as to what you allow your kids to watch, but I would say age 13 is a good starting point for this one, which is a little confusing because yes, they're trying to draw the older crowd like myself, who grew up with the first American Power Rangers, but they've also marketed a huge toy line to appeal to younger kids. And I really don't think this is a good one for younger kids, but as I said, that's your call. Honestly, I think high school age teenagers would connect with and enjoy this movie more than anybody. So here's the rundown of what to expect when seeing Power Rangers 2017. There were 2 B words, 4 ASS words, 4 S words, and 3 HE double hockey sticks that I caught. There's a few additional curse words kind of shouted in the background at times or in the midst of some commotion that weren't always very clearly audible. I know there was a few of those and I didn't exactly catch them, but just letting you know. There was also a reference to a classic Bruce Willis line where one of the Rangers starts to say, "Yippee-ki-yay." Then he pauses before completing the MF portion of that quote. In addition to the swearing, there are a few other terms worth noting, one being screw this and the other being douchebag. Not everybody considers them to be bad, but I try to give parents full disclosure on what to expect. One of the Rangers also had a weird childhood nickname that came up. Billy introduces himself as Billy Cranston, then proceeds to say, "The kids used to call me Billy Cramston, as in crams tons of crayons up his butt." Kind of weird, but it got a good laugh in the theater. There were also 2 references to masturbation in the movie, one being in the very beginning involving a cow. One of the guys makes the comment, "She should be happy, I just milked her," and the other guy responds by questioning, "Milked her?" Come to find out it's actually a male bull. Then later in the movie, while the Rangers are being taught how to morph, one of the guys makes the comment, "Yeah, I morphed in the shower this morning." There is a brief drug reference as a joke, where the mom of one of the Rangers demands her daughter to pee in this cup. It's actually pretty funny when it happens, but it may cause younger kids to ask what that means. There was also a scene where it looked like it was implying teen drinking. I didn't notice any labels on the bottle, but it sure looks like a beer bottle they're tipping back. There's also a couple of pretty violent car crashes shown in the movie. The action violence is kind of expected given that it's a Power Rangers movie, but one thing that I didn't expect was how scary Rita was going to be in this movie. She had a very ruthless aggression about her and was mercilessly violent towards a few individuals in this movie. Some of which is shown, some of which is alluded to, but again, I didn't expect that. In addition to all that, there are some heavier underlying issues throughout this movie, some of which I don't think younger kids would even catch, but I feel it's worth mentioning to you parents. This movie runs the gamut of current teen issues. They actually start out being pretty bad kids, to be honest. They don't listen to authority, they intentionally disobey their parents, and they outrun the cops on more than one occasion. And each Ranger has a different family scenario as well. There's divorced parents, there's dead parents, there's single parents, there's caring for sick parents, there's overbearing parents, so they pretty much cover all the bases there. Now the whole point of the movie is the Rangers coming together despite their differences and the things that make them unique. So with that concept, there's a very vague hint at the thought of suicide, there's a reference to sexting and cyberbullying. It doesn't show anything, but it's referenced. One of the Rangers is actually on the autism spectrum, and of course, there was the big news the other day of the Yellow Ranger, Trini, being the first gay superhero. The director himself even said, Trini coming to terms with her sexuality is a very pivotal part of the movie. Quite honestly, if that hadn't blown up just a couple days before the movie came out, I think it would have almost gone unnoticed. She never outright says she's gay, and it's only even referenced maybe twice throughout the whole movie. Again, I don't even know if younger kids would pick up on it. Overall, the Rangers are made up of the jock, the autistic nerd, the gay weird girl, the bad boy, and the outcast cheerleader. So in the simplest terms and most convenient definitions, the best description of this movie I've come up with is that it's a modern-day Breakfast Club meets Power Rangers. And who's going to complain about that? Honestly, the backstory of the kids, no matter how typecast and stereotypical it was at times, that's kind of what brought me around to liking this movie. In the original show, Zordon tells Alpha 5, teleport to us 5 overbearing and over-emotional humans, meaning teenagers. Then Zordon gives the kids a 3-minute rundown about their new powers and bam, they're Power Rangers. This takes that base origin story and stretches it out to give us a solid lead into these kids becoming the Power Rangers. I've actually heard they're already planning to make 6 or 7 more of these films, which, that's a tall order, but this film left me in a place where I want to see the second film. It's a good starting point for the franchise, I think. I'm usually one of the biggest proponents of rebooting a franchise or keeping it alive for another generation. For example, I highly supported the new Ninja Turtles movies, and I supported the new Ghostbusters movie. I always give them a chance because it keeps the franchise alive for another generation, and which keeps it alive for future reboots down the road possibly. But I was actually pretty skeptical going into this movie simply based on the production pictures that we'd seen even before the trailers started coming out. I mean, all the costumes from the morph suits to Rita to Goldar, initially they all just reminded me of something you'd see on the show Face Off. No offense to any Face Off contestants out there, I actually love the show. But the pictures made it look like some of the characters weren't completely movie ready, as they say on Face Off, and some concepts looked rushed. But Rita in particular just didn't look anything like Rita as we knew her 25 years ago. And everybody said the morph suits looked like Iron Man, which that's the obvious go-to reference, but I honestly thought they also resembled some of the iridescent and light-up concept suits for the Nicolas Cage and Tim Burton Superman Lives movie that never happened. But once you see the movie as a whole, everything works together aesthetically. The suits, the Zords, Rita, Alpha. I still wasn't a huge fan of the look of Goldar, but it'll have to do. And some of the special effects do come across a little cheap, to be honest. The way I explained it to my wife was that some of the effects kind of came across a little Twilight-ish. Honestly, my biggest complaint about this movie? There was no new Bulk and Skull. Instead, we get some unlikable Ed Sheeran, Ron Weasley looking kid that just comes across as an annoying little punk. At least you look forward to seeing Bulk and Skull in an episode. If you're a fan of the original 90s Power Rangers, then there's quite a few homages and Easter eggs throughout the movie to keep you satisfied. Do you get a kick out of hearing classic catchphrases such as, "Make my monster grow," "It's Morphin' time," and "Ay ay 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 ay"? Do you get super pumped and feel the urge to root for the good guys out loud when you hear an original theme song? Do you get goosebumps when you recognize special cameos from some of your childhood heroes? Then go see the new Power Rangers movie in theaters now! I'm telling you right now, it's got all the classic over-exaggerated flipping, uncontrollable spinning, and all the stiff-armed windmill posing action you've come to expect from a Power Rangers movie. And just so you know, there is a mid-credit teaser after the movie, but there is no after-credit scene. A special thanks to my cousin Logan on this one. If you're any kind of fan of video games, go check out my cousin's YouTube channel at Grindstone Pro. And until next time, may the power protect you always. See ya!